Education is an admirable thing, but it is well to remember from time to time that nothing that is worth learning can be taught. Oscar Wilde. Traditional education focuses on teaching, not learning. It incorrectly assumes that for every ounce of teaching, there is an ounce of learning by those who are taught. However, most of what we learn before, during, and after attending school is learned without it being taught to us. A child learns such fundamental things as how to walk, talk, eat, dress, and so on without being taught these things. Adults learn most of what they use at work or at leisure while at work or leisure. Most of what is taught in classroom settings is forgotten, and much or what is remembered is irrelevant. Personal classroom setup for me. 4 12-foot long tables that accommodate 32 students with an additional round table for 3, 2 regular school desks, and a 6-foot long table totaling 39 students in my largest class and averaging 27 in my remaining classes. All art materials are labeled and readily available depending on the activity. All discipline policies, safety measures, class objectives, and current projects are clearly displayed in the classroom. Constructivist teaching involves several factors associated with the research of Jean Piaget and Lev Vygotsky. Piaget's theory is based on the emphasis of internal logic and abilities. Piaget's theory of constructivism argues that people produce knowledge and form meaning based upon their experiences. Piaget's theory covered learning theories, teaching methods, and education reform. Two of the key components which create the construction of an individual's new knowledge are accommodation and assimilation. Assimilating causes an individual to incorporate new experiences into old experiences. This causes the individual to develop new outlooks, rethink what are once misunderstandings, and evaluate what is important, ultimately altering their perceptions. Accommodation, on the other hand, is reframing the world in new experiences into mental capacity already present. Individuals conceive a particular fashion in which the world operates. When things do not operate within that context, they must accommodate, and reframing the expectations with the outcomes. Vygotski's theory focuses on how one internalizes culture. He believes that learning and development is a collaborative activity and that children are cognitively developed in the context of socialization and education. The perceptual attention and memory capacities of children are transformed by vital cognitive tools provided by culture such as history, social context, traditions, language, and religion. For learning to occur, the child first makes contact with the social environment on an interpersonal level, and then internalizes this experience. The earlier notions and new experiences influence the child, who then constructs new ideas. Vygotsky's example of being able to point a finger displays how this behavior, which begins as a simple motion, becomes a meaningful movement when others react to the gesture. Both agree that learning stems from a constructivist standpoint of being fun, imaginative, and cooperative. Traditional lessons are archaic. Time-honored teaching is outdated. The constructivist teacher is a facilitator. No more books, worksheets, and hour-long lectures. All of this is replaced by hands-on learning, PBLs, and critical thinking. Assessments should currently reflect participation, self-assessments by students, one-on-one conferences with the teacher. I have used portfolios since my first year of teaching and encourage students to help me plan each semester. Technology seems to be a challenge for me and students that are true artists. The remaining students have embraced it, but not in an artistic manner, more of an entertainment variety. I incorporate our newly acquired Chromebooks as I cover vocabulary, and using YouTube to highlight techniques various artists use. The non-artistic student often help the students that are weak in technology skills. In problem-based learning, students use triggers from the problem, case, or scenario to define their own learning objectives. Subsequently, they do independent, self-directed study before returning to the group to discuss and refine their acquired knowledge. Thus, PBL is not about problem solving per se, but rather it uses appropriate problems to increase knowledge and understanding. This process is clearly defined, and several variations that exist all follow a similar series of steps. Currently, this is something I do not do. This type of learning would be better suited for core classes. Project-based learning is mandatory at my school. We must have at least 2 lessons per semester. I'm the go-to guy since I enjoy collaborating with other teachers, and the students are receptive to hands-on activities. Project-based learning hails from a tradition of pedagogy which asserts that students learn best by experiencing and solving real-world problems. According to researchers, project-based learning essentially involves the following: students learning knowledge to tackle realistic problems as they would be solved in the real world, interested student control over his or her own learning, teachers serving as coaches and facilitators of inquiry and reflection, and students usually, but not always, working in pairs or groups. Teachers can create real-world problem-solving situations by designing questions and tasks that correspond to 2 different frameworks of inquiry-based teaching. Problem-based learning, which tackles a problem but doesn't necessarily include a student project, and project-based learning, which involves a complex task and some form of student presentation and or creating an actual product or artifact. Emerald High School started PBLs 3 years ago, and overall I think it has been a huge success. Typical students that sit and sulk will eagerly help create and design a project for a core class. In conclusion, typical or old school classroom learning had to change. The teacher's role must change. Blame it on society, technology, mass media, or the collapse of traditional family. We must roll with the changes. I believe the new teacher recruits will have an easier time integrating technology and PBLs into their curriculum. It is something that I struggle with. Am I a constructivist teacher? I would say yes, but every year classes and students change. Teaching is a constant monitor and adjust. I believe the project-based learning is a step in the right direction. The skills learned in communication and cooperation will be helpful in any working environment. Students need to think for themselves.